Hello and welcome back to the United Devils YouTube channel. Today we're doing a slightly different video. We're doing our midweek football focus, which we started a few weeks ago, and we have back today. And it's no more a perfect week than this week to talk about football in general. Obviously, the scary, almost threatening news of the European Super League on Sunday evening threatened to ruin and cancel football as we know it, with 12 teams trying to book their way into was it $30 billion worth of money just to have football taken for granted. And it seemed a shocking revelation that went on for a good 2 or 3 days until the 20th of April, when all the big six sides pulled out, and it's slowly starting to erode. The European Super League. Is just Barcelona and Real Madrid left. Firstly, Jason, I think it's important to talk about your initial reaction on Sunday night. Obviously, we'd just come away with a good 3-1 win against Burnley, our first home win against Burnley since 2015. So, I mean, how much of a sinking report was that the European Super League was going to happen?
It was just an insane 24 hours. And I think my first thing I did was reach out to you and say, we have to have a podcast. Exactly. Yeah. And then I tweeted this. Of course, we can do a screen share situation here. Are you able to see the tweet or no?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, not working. Oh wait, let's see. I think I got it. Actually, yeah, it's not going to work. I was going to share my tweet with everybody, but basically what I said, everyone surprised by Super League hasn't been picking soccer about money for years. Stupid and unnecessary, but it's happening. It seemed inevitable, right? Then, I started tweeting about a couple hours later about how the thing that would actually suck the most, beyond what you said about really just realigning football for the world, is how else are they going to afford Super League? Like, this was absolutely going to be a pay-per-view script, $40 a match, whatever. Buy the season pack for $300. You know what I mean? Like, it was going to be insane. They were going to block all the streaming. So beyond all that, I mean, once you get over your initial anger, I suspect almost everybody who supports a team is still going to watch their team. No matter how mad you get, you're like, all right, well, it's still Man United. But then after all that, it's just a sinking feeling of just so much wasted time. Like, all this fighting and clawing and pushing for top four, and just for it to not mean anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did you think?
Well, no, absolutely, I completely agree. It just sort of made no real sense why we're trying to fight for securing top four if European football is automatically guaranteed. I mean, the idea that big games sort of came around every week sort of made it kind of removes the part that it's a big game anymore. Because you think about our Champions League group stage, which was the so-called group of death, where we were playing PSG and Leipzig, and two brilliant teams, free-flowing football, world-class players at PSG, and some exciting prospects, and one of the most exciting young managers in football at the moment. So, the idea was it was going to be difficult. But then if you're playing someone difficult every week and prioritizing the European Super League over, say, the Premier League game against Leicester, or against, if it's Watford who come up, then it just sort of defeats the whole idea that all the football that we play is equal, and that you can prioritize some things at some parts and other things at another part. It just sort of destroys the whole idea of a campaign, instead of just, well, this is what we have to do, and this is the stuff we don't really have to care about, kind of thing.
Especially when there were all kinds of reports that, like, the founding members were, like, guaranteed to stay up. And so what would that have looked like? So let's say you're still somehow managed to fit it all together, the Champions League and with domestic, whatever heck else, like, assuming they get over the bans and the initial anger. Okay, so FA Cup is now okay, and League Cup is now okay. So you're Man United, you're guaranteed you're going to stay up in Super League. You have this huge league now that's supposed to be the premier leagues, and you're staying up regardless. So that maybe that becomes the midweek squad that you roll out every week, because it just doesn't matter if you're not fighting for the championship. You just say, okay, whatever, we're not winning the championship, so we'll just roll out, I don't know, at this point, De Gea and you bring Marcus Rojo back, whatever. You run out that squad because it just doesn't matter, So I don't know. And the other thing that left a really sour taste in my mouth is the fact that they tried to do this like surreptitiously and seemed like in the middle of the night. Like, I think Super League could work. I think it could be incredible if it's done under the auspices of the rest of UEFA. Like, if you have your domestic league where you set Super League up to be, starting in 2 years or something, and the top 4 book their place in Champions League, but then you win your way. Oh, excuse me for a second. Sorry. You win. That's the problem with the live show, right? You win your way in Champions League to get into Super League. That could work. And then, but they tried to do it like, fly by night. Let's just steal everybody, and and that's what made people so angry.
Yeah. So do you mean something more like your performances in the Champions League mean that you get into the Super League, almost like an extended Club World Cup?
Pretty much, yeah. What the Club World Cup, with the eye of that, was supposed to be. Because the Club World Cup is really cool. I'm amazed it's actually not taken off more. I thought it would be a little more popular than it is. Because what's neat about it is you get every association. Like you get, like a CONCACAF team, like a Cruz Azul or a Monterrey can play Bayern Munich in a real match, not a
friendly
or not a international Champions Cup or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
absolutely,
it has a possibility of being very good, but not the way they tried to do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the way they did it, cloak and daggers in the night, not told any of the fans, not told the players, not told the staff, and it was something that obviously the United players felt very strongly about after the Burnley game. That Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was thrown under the bus by the CEO and the owners, and it's something that obviously they should be praised about, that they raised those concerns. Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes, Luke Shaw, Marcus Rashford, probably many others. But those are the most notable ones, named ones that have that took a stand against the decisions made by the club's owners and CEO. And it is apparently one of the significant reasons that Ed Woodward has left his job. Before we get into that bit, what I will say is, talking to obviously as an American, do you feel a really, I don't know what to say, but almost like you feel a bit down in the fact that the owners of, say, Arsenal and Liverpool and United have just got that serious lack of knowledge as to their own football fans? Do you feel, as an American, you feel really...
It really is, and that's the kind of the problem with the American fan. I can speak for the American fan because I am an American fan. We don't have the knowledge of the tradition. As much as I feel like I know about it a little more than some, because I support a team and watch a team week in, week out, I still don't have that. Like, if you read the history of these clubs, it's incredible, this stuff. Like, most American supporters I don't think realize that a club like Manchester United was founded by factory workers who wanted a club. Literally, it's a club. That's why it's called a club. It's not like Major League Baseball where, cities are given teams and, they're professional teams right off the bat. Man United was, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the original name. It was like
Newton Heath.
Heath, yes, Newton Heath Football Club. And it was not professional. it was a club of men who wanted to play other factories, and then it just developed and became what it is today. The Barcelona, FC Barcelona, in their flag is a Swiss flag because the original owner and the original players were from Switzerland. That's why there's a Swiss flag in the logo. People probably who support Barcelona and are crying when they lose probably don't even realize that history.
Yeah.
And I don't mean it in a derogatory way. I mean it in a you just don't live the history like it's like for supporter from England or from somewhere else in the country. I don't know if they understand the passion that Americans have for college sports, like university sports, where I don't know how big it is in England. I don't know how big the college sports are in England.
I think just the people in the college actually support the college team. I don't think it's sort of like, because you have quite a lot of colleges in the same cities, it kind of doesn't always go towards the public as well. So people
Whereas here there are supporters of schools that didn't even go there. Or they went there and they have such passion because they went there.
Yeah.
Where it's just different. So, and that's the same kind of tradition. But what people like the Glazers don't understand is the Premier League, just being in it means something to a supporter of a club. Like, I saw, we just saw a club go down this week, and their supporters are in tears over it. It's because of the passion that they have. And could they win their way back next year? Sure. Or how impacted rivalries are. Like, I don't go back that far. I'll go back to around 2005, 2006. So I don't have that understanding of. I've spoken with older United fans who talked about how excited they were that Leeds was back in the league, because that apparently was a massive, massive rivalry, Leeds and Man United. But I have very little knowledge of that. I know it existed, but for me, the rivalry I've seen since 2005 or so has been City and Arsenal and Chelsea, and Liverpool to an extent. But, for an older supporter, they'll tell me Leeds. They hate Leeds more than any other club. And for me, it's like, well, what's there to hate? They've been in the championship for years. So, and that's the kind of tradition that the newcomer supporter to United. And please, I don't want anybody mistaking this for not wanting newcomers. I want newcomers to soccer all the time. I love it. I love people coming to football. But we don't get that passion that exists. Even to the point where there were protesters that came to the grounds.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so far from that. I don't know what that's like.
Yeah, I know. It's sort of a surprise, because then when that happened today, they were just flooding social media with what was happening, and there were some reported comments that have now been found to be untrue, about what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said and all sorts. But it's just, I mean, like, the thing is that something so almost normalized of the fans interacting with the staff and the training staff, and obviously they were protesting first, but they did actually have a chat with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Darren Fletcher and Michael Carrick, and I think it was Nemanja Matic as well. And then they left, and then it got turned on social media into this sort of argument and all sorts of promoting the owners in some way that would have caused an outrage, and it just got turned into something else. And you miss that whole kind of brilliant thing of fans almost being back at, being able to talk to the United staff. And that's something we've been missing over the last, 14 months.
And I think in a way that made it easier for them to try this stunt.
Yeah.
Because they're not seeing the fans week in, week out anymore.
Yeah.
They're not dealing with the backlash. They're not dealing, and in a way, I think somehow the minor positive of it, I mean, I don't think there's any real positives. But I think the club itself and other clubs themselves have been able to turn their seasons around quicker because sometimes I think in years past, the club, not just Man United, but other clubs, feed off the energy of the supporters. And we've seen in the past few years where the energy around Old Trafford is extremely negative. Like, even to the point of fans and supporters trying to get the team to play a different way. Like when they're trying to tick the ball around the back and, attack, 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 like trying to get them to change their plan.
Yeah.
Whereas without the fans, they could play how they want. And sometimes I think it's helped certain teams turn things around, or where we've gotten a whole bunch of road wins. I don't know if that happens if they're fans. I don't know if we're winning all these games from losing positions if fans are in the stands. I don't know if that's happening.
Yeah, well, our unbeaten away run only included 2 games, or maybe I think 3 games with fans, because there were 2 before lockdown, and then we obviously were at West Ham when they had 2,000 fans allowed back in. I think it was last November. So there was that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think there is that idea that fans will obviously affect the home crowds more, and then the away crowds obviously are doing quite well at the moment. Might not have that same effect when the fans come back in.
Yeah.
But then the idea that it will affect Old Trafford for the better is, I think, a far greater outcome than
I totally agree.
Our away sort of form dipping a little bit.
I think it's become easier for teams to, the flip side, it's become easier for teams to get results at Old Trafford because they're not dealing with that wall of supporters at the Stretford end when it's 90th minute of a 1-1 game, and fans are making it impossible for, like, we see it every week. We get a late free kick or something, and the other team is able to calmly set their communication. And
the nerves.
Yeah, the nerves there's less nerves, there's much, but we've seen in years past where it's frenetic. The ball is just being pumped in, and guys don't know who to mark, and because they can't even communicate with each other. So, and that's been totally missing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the larger point is it's what's partially, I think you're right, with the whole thing you mentioned about fans being able to get to the grounds and protest. Like Ed Woodward and the Glazers haven't really had to answer to anybody for a year and a half.
Absolutely. Well, the Glazers haven't even been here for 2 years.
Right. Yeah.
But let's talk about them actually, and most importantly, Ed Woodward, who has decided to resign from his position. I believe at the latest he will leave will be the summer, but he could leave. Sorry, the latest he will leave will be the end of the year. But reports have suggested that he could leave as early as the summer to allow someone to step in and take over his role. Perhaps even Edwin van der Sar has been the name that's been looking the most likely to come in, but then there's been other names that have been floated around, more director of football like kind of people that know the game more than the business side, which is certainly the opposite of Ed Woodward. But firstly, news came about, I think, late on the 20th. Shocked, or sort of, did you feel like it was inevitable?
I was shocked, to be honest. I thought that guy would be here forever. But, and actually it's going to actually give a credence to the whole idea of like how much of it was actually his fault. Because, people blame him for almost everything transfer related for the last, 4 years at least.
7, I'd say it's the whole 7.
Maybe 8, yeah. So we're going to really see how much of it is his fault and how much of it was the Glazers and how much of it was the manager. But yeah, I am just totally shocked. I mean, that was like the one positive to come out of this, though. No one, I don't know any United fan that has anything nice to say about Ed Woodward. What did you think?
Well, I think absolutely he has been negligent in a big part of his job. I think under Van Gaal and Mourinho, he spent a lot of money on some players that perhaps were not the right decision. He certainly went and prioritized big money signings such as Di Maria and Falcao under Van Gaal, Sanchez and Fred and others under Mourinho, and it didn't quite work out. And the thing is, he kept trying to change things, and it was just a bit of a shame that like he just never quite learned his lessons. And it started looking like he'd learned his lessons under Solskjaer, but I feel like more that he was being told to stop controlling parts of the transfer stuff.
Yeah.
I think that was an important factor. But we have actually had a question from Dark Knight, and it's an interesting question, actually. It would have been interesting if we'd have given the ESL a chance, because let's face it, nobody is rushing home to watch Nice versus Eibar. Agree, disagree. I hope you don't mind if I tackle that first.
You go for it.
Oh, I'll keep it up then. Yeah, well, okay, obviously, and the things like Newcastle Burnley aren't exactly an exciting game, but unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but it's how football works. There'll be exciting games, there'll be less exciting games. You never know. I thought that Newcastle West Ham was going to be a boring game, 0-0 draw, maybe a 1-0 winner, and it turned out to be a 3-2 win for Newcastle. It was a fantastic game. You never know with these kind of small games how the idea that someone is entitled to play in a match just because of their size and stature doesn't make anything. That's not how football works. Leicester being almost relegated one season and then winning the title the next season. I mean, that's what football's all about, that kind of stuff. The last minute winners, the last gasps, penalty saves, penalty shootout victories, it's all part of it. And a small team can beat a big team. That's why we have giant killings. That's the whole beauty of the FA Cup, that anything can happen. That's why in the Champions League, when someone goes all the way, Ajax, no one expected Ajax to get as far as they did in that sensational season, where they beat Real Madrid, Juventus, and then Tottenham came out of nowhere to beat Man City, and then Ajax, and then went all the way to their first ever Champions League final. If they have no history in the Champions League, they wouldn't be there. So you have all that kind of thing. And say, you know, the teams that have never made it to the Champions League that go through all the playoffs. You've got like FC Midtjylland, who went, I think they had their first campaign last season. Red Bull Salzburg. You have Club Brugge. You have all sorts of small teams. You've got the ones from Switzerland and Serbia and Czech Republic and Russia that barely get a chance. And when they sometimes beat Real Madrid, lost 3-0 to CSKA Moscow, and they wouldn't have been in the European Super League. It's the idea that everyone deserves a fighting chance. So if you perform well in your league, you get the chance to play in the Premier League, and you get a chance to play in the Champions League even, or the Europa League, and you get that chance to win that silverware. So the fact that they will only allow, I think it was 5 clubs will be allowed to actually join due to domestic performances, and just those 5, so they're the only ones that have a chance. And I think that is morally wrong. I think the idea that you have an ESL based on your Champions League performances is more of an adaptation of the football pyramid, as you suggested, Jason. So I think that would have worked. But the idea of just guaranteeing places to, 12 to 15 clubs and having 5 maybe come in based on domestic performances is just wrong. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things in play. And again, you mentioned FC Michelin. It's a great club to bring up because they went from being a punchline of a joke when we played them maybe 8 years back, where people were calling them Midget Land.
Yeah.
And now they're a monster club. It wins every week. I mean, we've seen Champions League put Chelsea on the map from being like a mid-table club to now a big club. We've also seen massive stars come from small clubs.
Haaland is the best example.
Great example. We've seen many examples of that. We've seen players go from being nearly out of football to playing themselves back to being a star like Jamie Vardy, who was nearly out of football
Yeah.
and considered not a good player, never considered for national team, just not great. And then all of a sudden now he is still kicking at 34,
Mm.
and still probably would command a 50 million pound fee transfer, maybe more. So while I understand the comment from a perspective of, yeah, no one is rushing home to watch Nice versus Ibar, especially considering at some point I used to think that was Nice and Elbar, when I read it quickly in the score scroll. But it's like kind of like what we said before. Like, you have these huge matchups with Manchester United maybe playing City in Super League, or you have the El Clasico in the Super League. But if they're guaranteed to stay up anyway, is it as exciting as a team playing for its life on the last day of the season? Like, anyone who hasn't watched it absolutely has to check out the documentary called Losers on Netflix, and they profile a squad whose name is escaping me at the moment about this magical last day of the season where a dog bit a security guard and they had to stop the game, and they literally get a last second winner that saved their club. Literally, from if they were relegated, they were done. Like, they were going to have to stop. They couldn't afford football anymore, and now they're still up in, I believe, the third flight of English football. So I don't know. There's a fine line. There's something to be said for these massive matchups. And yeah, El Clasico comes around. It's great. But we see it here in the States. Everyone was all about interleague play with baseball. It was, oh, Mets are going to play the Yankees. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
It was fun for like 3-4 years. Now it's like, whatever. Like, oh, great. The Mets playing the Yankees. Okay. Whatever. I don't care. Like, it just doesn't have its juice anymore.
Yeah.
So in a league where literally United and City and Liverpool and Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid were guaranteed to stay up, like, then no game is big. Like, yeah, you can do some great football, but ultimately, if it doesn't mean anything, like what people miss with the domestic leagues that aren't paying attention, or that are stuck into the model of it's championship or bust. Like, you either win the title or you're crap, basically. Like, you miss these little battles. Like, in Premier League, the battle to get to Europa is huge for some clubs. The battle to stay in Champions League is the difference between United going out and getting a Bruno Fernandes or running Pereira out every week. That's literally that difference. And obviously the relegation battle is it's some of the most exciting matches you'll ever see because they're playing for their lives.
Well, I remember when West Ham turned up at United, they were going to get relegated unless they won, and Carlos Tevez won those 2 goals, scored and won the game for West Ham on the last day of the season. They stayed up. Newcastle, one of their players who'd been diagnosed with cancer and missed the whole season, had come back and scored the winner in 2015 and then retired the day after. So, you get those beautiful moments in football. And I think the one you're talking about is Torquay United.
Torquay, yeah. It's an unbelievable story. It's a crazy story.
Yeah.
That they literally saved their club. And of course, like the example you brought up 5 minutes ago is the best one, Leicester. Like, if you have it set up the way it's suggested with Super League, you don't get that story.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't get clubs like Wolves, who were nearly relegated and now are I wouldn't call them a big club, but they're certainly a mainstay.
Top 10.
Yeah, they're a mainstay. They're in that Everton class now.
Mm. They were Europa League quarterfinals last season.
Mm-hmm. And play a fun brand of football, and we got stars put on the map because of the way that players we hadn't heard of.
Neves, Cody, Traore, Podence, Jota, Jimenez. Jota and Jimenez I'd never heard of before they played at Wolves, and they were ripping it up. They're both, I mean, Jota, I mean, it feels like a steal. I think he's the signing of the season, Diogo Jota, really.
Yeah,
I mean, bar maybe Ruben Diaz, but him and Jimenez is a 60 million player now.
Yeah, and they play a fun brand of football, that high octane, like speed, absolutely quick counterattack and blink of an eye, end to end stuff. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Absolutely.
But I understand the comment. I get the idea of it on its face because there certainly are some matches that are forgettable. But
that's football.
That's football. Yeah, I agree.
To quote Al Pacino, that's football, guys.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is such an awesome movie.
But we are running out of time. But I will just briefly go on this point. Of course, around that time, it was almost in the sideline that after the draw to Everton and the release of the European Super League, Jose Mourinho was dismissed from Tottenham Hotspur. Ryan Mason was put in charge of the squad on an interim management basis and will lead Tottenham to their Carabao Cup final on Sunday. Initially shocked at Mourinho's dismissal, or not really?
Not shocked that he was dismissed. Shocked at the timing. I don't know what changed between the last couple days, other than the whole landscape of football. But no, I mean, to me it's the same. I knew it was going to end with Mourinho at some point because it's just the way it always goes with Mourinho. He wants certain things done his way, and inevitably the clubs just don't want to let him do it that way. So it always goes sour. So that part didn't shock me, just the timing of it did. And I can't believe Ryan Mason was put in charge. I mean, the guy's 30 years old, I think. And he looks like a kid.
Well, he's former Spurs, so he knows the club inside out. And I think he's kind of on that. I mean, I don't think he's got much coaching experience. But obviously got them back to winning ways. 2-1 win against Southampton, and the first time I think in 7 games that Tottenham have come from a goal down to actually win a game. So, I mean, obviously I don't think Daniel Levy will be content to leave him in charge for, say, next season. I assume that there's going to be someone to be brought in to fill the void, really, and really fix the problems. But I mean, do you think Spurs will get anything out of Manchester City in the Carabao Cup final, or do you think City will storm them?
I don't know. See, I thought City was going to dominate their last match in the FA Cup. I don't know what to make of City anymore. What, sorry?
Oh, against Chelsea.
Oh, it's Chelsea. It's awful. Chelsea bossed the game, basically. I don't know what to make of City anymore because they went from being this club that was clicking on all cylinders and just looking unstoppable, capable of putting 3-4 goals up every match, to now I don't know if they're just interested or if they're just coasting or if they just think if they go out there they're going to win because they're City.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I was betting, I wouldn't touch that game. I don't. That could be 4-0 City, or it could be 1-1 at extra time, or it could be 0-0. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing: if you're worried about City, any chance of a late title charge by Manchester United, or not really?
As of a few days ago, about 15 minutes into the game, I really was thinking about it because they were down and they looked bad.
Yeah,
and they got that gift of a red card and turn the thing around. And I'm sorry, I'm flipping the game around. But yeah, they had that situation where they could have been caught, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And you just like kept thinking it was going to happen, and I mixed the two games up. I'm thinking of the game with Bill. Yeah, they got the other red card to put it back 10 aside is what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
yesterday's game, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like when it was 11-10 and up a goal, you're like, this could change, this could turn, and even if that draws, you feel like there's a shot.
Because it would be 5 points if we'd won our game in hand.
Yeah, exactly. Not that Leeds is an easy place to play, but
Mm.
but yeah,
City also found out.
yeah. Oh, exactly. That's the two games I mixed up. I mixed up the 1-1 and the
Yeah.
oh gosh, and like because the fixtures just come so fast, you can't keep track. It's hard to keep track anymore of these games, especially when your team's not in it because it's enough to keep track of the United fixtures, right?
Oh yeah.
But if it had gotten to 8, if it really was 8 with a game at hand, that's where we started talking about last week, where you can start thinking about it being serious because if you cut it to 5, that's if you get it within 5, as long as you're within 2 or 3 on the last day of the season, you've got a chance.
Yeah. They have Everton, who aren't pushovers.
No, and again, they're playing clubs who have absolutely nothing to lose, and for these clubs, it's their Super Bowl. They're getting a chance to play. I mean, the champions elect, basically, and they know all the eyes are watching, and they get to just give it their best shot and try to win against City. Like they're not going to get. No team is going to. I mean, teams could be outclassed, of course, because of the talent, but no team is going to go out there and lay an egg against City. They're going to play their game. It's their chance to show. If I was managing, I'd say, look, they're probably the best in the world. What do you got? How good are you? So, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think there's any chance? I think, honestly, if they lost or drew, I really would be thinking about it.
Yeah. But I mean, I think they've got how many games left? I think they've played 33, so they've got 5 games left, and they have to lose 3 of 5.
Yeah, and I'm about to pull up the fixture list. I know it's not easy.
They've got Chelsea, they've got Everton, I think Newcastle, who are obviously fighting for their life, but I don't. And the thing is that they're playing in the Champions League, so they are going to be, a little bit clustered with the fixture list. So you never know, but I do still think, it's theirs to lose. I don't think they'll bottle this. I think it would be better for the world if they don't win the Champions League. So I'd rather they bottle the Champions League than, the league. But obviously, if they bottle both, which is on the cards, I still think that if they, draw against whoever they've got up next, I think it's Crystal Palace.
Yeah, it's Palace.
And then they lose to Chelsea. It could make an interesting last 3 games of the season.
Yeah. I mean, they've got Newcastle, which should be again, on paper, should be easy for them. Brighton should be easy for them. And then Man City against Everton last day of the season. Again, these should all be easy matches for them. But that club, for years, it's always been about the motivation for them. Just always. And like there's been certain matches where you watch them and you can just see they're just not. It's tough to gauge effort, but you can gauge they're not sharp.
Yeah.
Like passes are lazy. They
expect to win.
The runs are curved instead of angled. Like you could just see it. You know. Whereas when you watch a squad like Bayern Munich, and I only bring them up because City fancies themselves as Bayern Munich, but not ever accomplishing anything close to what Bayern Munich has. And you watch that team make runs, they are spot on, angled, perfect runs. Whereas City, you sometimes see the lazy curve where you see a guy like De Bruyne, who's fantastic. I'm not taking anything away. But sometimes they'll be like, I'm over this attack. I'm just going to try a 25-yarder,
Yeah.
whatever. Oh, it's in the stands. Okay, whatever. Um, Whereas you watch Munich and those wasteful attempts like that, they are few and far between.
Mm.
They're trying to score every possession. They're attacking precisely every time down.
And ruthlessly.
Yes, and to the point of if a wasteful effort from range. I mean, you see anger between the players. What are you doing? Like,
Mm.
I'm here, pass.
Yeah. And you
But
can see that with Sane against PSG. They were all furious with him.
yes,
He was just
like
so wasteful.
he tried something from like 28 yards out or something,
Mm.
and it's just like, yeah, and they just were fear like what? Like no, stop.
Well, I mean, absolutely. I think the thing is they're still obviously an excellent team, excellent manager, great players, great football, but they still. I mean, the fact is they still haven't won that Champions League, and they had almost a perfect run to do it last year.
Yep.
They had Leon in a one-off game, and they just, I mean, them and Edison especially bottled it, and then they could have gone on and done something great, but they really didn't. It was a bad season for them. I think they just won the Carabao Cup. That was it. And so this season they're out for blood. They could win a treble of the Champions League, the Premier League, and the Carabao Cup, but it still remains to be seen whether they have that in them. Almost like with our semi-finals, they still can't get past that Champions League hurdle.
Right.
They just can't do it. So it's up to them to see if they can do it. They've obviously got a huge game against a great PSG team. Yeah. So it's up to them. And then whoever it is will play either Real Madrid or Chelsea. So it's going to be massive games to come, and we'll just see who comes out on top. But that will be what we just finish on is Champions League prediction. Who do you think is going to win?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think you just talked me out of City. This PSG team, I think they've been doubted all year. And I couldn't believe Bayern couldn't get past them. I really thought they were going to put a 2-0 on them or a 3-0. Like, especially once they got that first goal and were just attacking. And the way PSG basically played absolutely perfect bend but don't break defense. They were like, if you don't understand, for the person who's just started following football, that kind of defensive performance is one. I think when Mourinho pictures his side, that's what he thinks they're going to do. But they don't, because he just doesn't have the players he wants. But I don't know what you thought of that match, but they played. I mean, that was they were a row of five and a row of five, and they just combination of zonal marked and man marked, and they were just heroic, blocking everything, taking away passing lanes, late perfect challenges. Like Bayern threw the kitchen sink at them, and against a lesser opponent might have put 5 or 6 up.
Yeah.
And ended up with just the one. So, I mean, I think PSG has that capability of doing both. Whereas I don't know if City has to play a tactical game. I don't know if they can do it. I don't know if they're capable of it.
Well, that is that. I mean, well, then in that case, do you think if it is PSG going through to the final, and I mean, for me, I think on the other side of it, I like some of the players at Chelsea, but for me, Real Madrid edges it. I think they're just really clinical. I think the midfield is still excellent. Casemiro is by far the best defensive midfielder.
Oh, he's unbelievable. I love Casemiro.
Yeah.
It'll never happen, but him at Manchester United is exactly what they need. Like, absolutely. It's like, oh, you're Fred, but you're an awesome version of Fred. Okay.
because you can pass.
Exactly.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the thing is their team is still excellent, even without Hazard. It's an
Yeah.
excellent team,
Mm-hmm.
and they've still got one of the best strikers in the world. They've got two of the best centre backs in the world, an excellent goalkeeper. Their left back is electric. The right back, when fit, is brilliant, and the other right back they have, I think Vasquez, is doing a decent job as an auxiliary. But they've still got a world-class midfield, so I think Real Madrid could win it. However, on the results of the last few weeks with Florentino Perez, I kind of might not want them to win. I think it might be better if PSG do it. But then again, there's no one in that four that I'd want to win. Let's just call it a draw. No one wins.
Yeah, it's. I mean, as a Man United supporter, it's like the least. I mean, maybe it's probably not quite the four worst teams to be left, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I just kissed a death PSG because I've been anti them all year, and just that performance they turned in last week was just amazing. I couldn't believe the defense they played. I just could not. I didn't even know they were capable of that.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's the big thing. We didn't even know they were capable of it because we ripped them apart, to be honest, in both legs, and should have won the one at home had we not missed our chances. So you know, we could have beaten them both, and they could have been in the Europa League instead of us.
Yeah, but that goes back, and it's a great thing to end on. That goes back to your comment about football being football, because that's what makes the game so special. We are a missed penalty kick away from not having our magical 2008 season. If he doesn't bottle that, we're probably angrier today than we already are, you know. But he misses, we win. You know, PSV has a chance now to win Champions League, despite all the statistics pointing to Bayern Munich should be in the spot right now. And years change, lives change, clubs change based on those little moments. That's why football's so incredible, because you don't know if that huge moment is going to take place in the first minute or in the 98th minute. You don't know.
Absolutely.
So that's why it's the greatest game. It really is. For people who don't watch it, I feel bad. I feel bad for the people who are like, oh, I like every sport except soccer.
You mean like our owners?
Yeah, exactly. Just don't get it. I mean, people are like, oh, how could you watch it 0-0? It's like, yeah, some of the 0-0s are some of the greatest games I've ever seen. That World Cup, Brazil and Mexico, that might have been the greatest 0-0 I've ever seen.
That was super.
It was unbelievable, that game.
Yeah.
And it was 0-0.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the beautiful game. And I think that's the perfect way to end it, because that is all we have time for today. Thank you for listening. And thank you once again for joining me, Jason. Pleasure to talk to you about this.
All right. Yep. Emergency podcast in the book.
If you have any questions or topics for us next time that you want us to discuss on the video, comment below on the live chat or on the Twitter polls. And if you enjoyed this, please like this video, subscribe to our channel.